מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים שחזרת בי נשמתי בחלל רבה אמונתך מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים שחזרת בי נשמתי בחלל רבה אמונתך מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים שחזרת בי נשמתי בחלל רבה אמונתך מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים שחזרת בי נשמתי בחלל רבה אמונתך Sing this with me מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים שחזרת בי נשמתי בחלל רבה אמונתך מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים שחזרת בי נשמתי בחלל רבה אמונתך once more מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים מודה אני לפניך הרוח חי וקיים KZOOMers.
Hey.
See, it's morning at Johnny's house.
It's Friday morning.
Friday morning.
So we did make it.
We did make it
To Friday. So all
maybe.
of us.
So I invite you first to take a look around the Zoom room and connect yourself to everyone here so that we can play together tonight. You know. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Friday morning for Tony as well. Yeah. 2 Friday mornings. Australians. Glad you're here.
You know, when I started my zimra training a long time ago, it was sort of like there's this feeling of like, oh, I want people to play with. Who am I going to play with? And then I sort of gathered my playmates, you know, and it continues. I don't know why I say playmate. That sounds very
No, we're going to reclaim
Hugh
the word.
Hefner. No,
We've got to reclaim the word.
Right.
Reclaim it. Yeah, good playmates.
So what I've been doing at these KZOOMs is taking something that I received from the Song of Songs and really having it as a theme to run with it, to go and play with it, to be able to explore it together. And as you know, the Song of Songs being being our Holy of Holies, the center point of the tradition, the mystical core, which is love. And so I learn different things from it every week. But what, in the text this week, what it occurred to me, is that the whole, it feels like at some level the whole Song of Songs is play. Is these lovers playing with each other, and that dimension of play is really all through it, and it's also playing with language. The words are really kind of extraordinary, and there's all of there's a lot of what they call hapex legomena. Hapex legomena might sound like it's the name of my rock and roll group.
I was wondering what you were going to say. Yeah, rock and roll, that works.
No. Hapex legomena.
Hapex legomena.
That would be a good name, huh? But what it means is that when a word appears just once in the Bible, and the way that we understand ancient languages is through context, and when it's so when there's no context to put it in, really, it's kind of anybody's guess what it means, and so it makes it even more playful, fun, and if you look at different translations or interpretations of the Song of Songs, it is vastly diverse in its in the way that it's interpreted. So when Rachmel and I were making this CD that was called Sheer Delight,
2004. My goodness.
Yeah, when we were making that CD, and
we stayed with Ellen.
We stayed with Ellen.
Studio. That's right. We stayed with you in New York.
We were, and then we were kind of learning how to speak it to each other, and it says, the text here says, "My friend, you're as beautiful as Tirza, majestic as Jerusalem, daunting as the stars in the sky.
Turn your eyes away, for they dazzle me."
So when he said those words to me, it felt so much like about lovers' play, because he didn't really want me to turn my eyes away. What he wanted is to say, wow,
so bright. I can hardly even.
So, so I was thinking about this sense of the song being filled with love play, and how important play is. So I wanted to really have this whole KZOOM to be an exploration of play, a, a serious exploration
Serious.
of play.
That's right.
And what it first brought me to was a concept in Hinduism that that is called lila, and lila is a way of describing reality as the creative play of God. So life, lila is divine play, and it is a natural outflow of spontaneous, generous self-manifestation of God. And so, and it really brings forth this idea of delight in creation. So there are times when I enter into this dimension of the Song of Songs that I begin to, it shifts the way I see, and I see the world as the play of light and shadow, of pain and joy, of separation and union. And it really gives me this challenge: can I see the world as divine play? And this other challenge of, can I see the turnings of my own life as the soul's play with this incarnation? That my soul is playing at being this ridiculous person, serious person, yes. And it it lightens my heart. And I started to, so I remembered a couple other books that were important to me in my life, and one of them is a book which I reread today, called Play by Stuart Brown. Play, how it shapes the brain, opens the imagination, and invigorates the soul. And I really and there is a National Institute for Play that he started, and it and it came out of a very dark story in his life, where in 1966 there was a mass shooting in the University of Texas in Austin.
He was up in the tower.
No, yeah, not him.
No,
the murderer.
The murderer was up in the tower.
And it was at that time, it was a terrible shock. And the governor of Texas at the time decided he wanted to understand how this could have happened. And he said, you have an unlimited funds to all of the academics in the university to study this. And Stuart Brown was in the Department of Psychiatry at the time, and he was sent to try to understand the psychology of it. And he went also to kind of a death row, and he interviewed murderers on death row and other people. All these studies all converged in one consensus that which had to do with the suppression and inability to play. Like when people were young, when they weren't allowed to play, when they were constrained in that way. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody turns into a murderer, but that was what they all had in common, and it sent him to his life's work of studying what play is. And so he says that these are some of the properties of play. It is apparently purposeless, meaning it's done for its own sake. It is voluntary. It has an inherent attraction of kind of a pleasure from it. And there, in the practice of play, there's freedom from time, and there is a diminished consciousness of self, and it has an improvisational potential, and a what he calls a continuation desire, is that when you do it, you want to keep doing it, you know. And he ended the book with this beautiful kind of sum up thing that I wanted to inspire us in our play. He said, play is how we are made, how we develop and adjust to change. It can foster innovation and lead to multi-billion-dollar fortunes. But in the end, the most significant aspect of play is that it allows us to express our joy and connect most deeply with the best in ourselves and in others. If your life has become barren, play brings it to life again. Yes, as Freud said, life is about love and work, yet play transcends these, infuses them with liveliness and stills time's arrow. Play is the purest expression of love.
Ooh, that's nice.
And so, we'll talk more about it, but I wanted to just to bring this practice of Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi, and bring it in a way that we get to play with it and get to tune into that dimension of love play. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Shehaym, hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich, minegdi.
minegdi, shehaym hirhivuni, shehaym hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich minegdi, Hasaybi, aynayich minegdi, Hasaybi, aynayich minegdi, shehaym hirhivuni, shehaym hirhivuni. Oh, Hasaybi, aynayich minegdi, Hasaybi, aynayich minegdi, Hasaybi, aynayich minegdi, shehaym hirhivuni, shehaym hirhivuni.
I invite you to just to breathe this lightness into your hearts and call up a memory from your childhood of a time of play. And it's the play is so important to kind of that plasticity of the brain, to opening up new pathways of creativity, and we have that quality a lot in childhood. Most of us do, and we see it in the animals, and somehow we often lose it at great expense. And it helped me to understand all the different kinds of play. So Stuart Brown talks about 8 different kinds of play personalities, and that and you might have more than one of these, but so the eight are the joker, the kinesthete, which means the being able to play with movements, the explorer, the competitor, the director, the collector, the artist, and the storyteller. And so there's, these are kind of, and as I explore those 8, there's kind of a lot of, dimensions there of like, of how we want to play as grown-ups, except for we only have one person who's not a grown-up here. I think that's Ziva Lev, who is 1 month old today, who could probably give us some lessons in play. And there's this other teacher, his name is Scott Eberly, who draws this kind of circle of how play happens, and the circle starts with circles never start, but but the circle has anticipation, which is a kind of a waiting with expectation, wondering what's going to happen, curiosity, a little bit of anxiety, just a little bit of uncertainty or risk involved, and then that leads to surprise, the unexpected, a discovery, a new sensation or idea, a shifting perspective, and this produces pleasure, a good feeling, like the pleasure we feel at the unexpected twist in the punchline of a good joke. And then next we have understanding, which is the acquisition of new knowledge, a a synthesization of distinct and separate concepts, an incorporation of ideas that were previously foreign, and that leads to strength, which is the mastery that comes from constructive experience and understanding the empowerment that comes by coming through a scary experience and of knowing more about how the world works. And ultimately, he says this results in poise, grace, contentment, composure, and a sense of balance in life. But then the anticipation comes again. So that's the circle: anticipation, surprise, pleasure, understanding, strength, poise, anticipation. That's this beautiful circle of play that we want to enter into. And I wanted to choose a chant that could really give me permission to play. And this chant that says, "Oh, pure soul, in you I see endless possibility." And the words Elohai neshama, the soul that you have placed in me, is pure. And so I think that sense of purity really leads me to the ability to play. You know, the opposite of that innocence is a kind of a jadedness or cynicism, which is what shuts down that playfulness. So I want to say that our playfulness is born in the pure soul that we are, and we want to reconnect with that in ourselves and in each other. So I want to do this practice. Oh, pure soul, and you can speak first to your own pure soul. To be able to look into your soul and to be able to see that child there who knew how to play, and maybe it got squashed, that playfulness got squashed in you. Anybody here had that happen to them? Yeah. And we need to recover it. And we recover it not by going back to childhood, but by recovering that quality of playfulness and applying it to our adult lives, to infusing whatever wisdom we have accumulated with a sense of, with a lightness, with a playfulness. So let's connect with that pure soul. Elohai neshama shenatata bi Elohai neshama shenatata bi endless possibility. endless possibility. Oh, pure soul, endless possibility. Oh, pure soul, Elohai see, endless possibility. So I invite us to open our eyes and we can sing this to each other, particularly to the pure soul we see in each of us. Endless possibility. Oh, pure soul, Elohai see, endless possibility. Oh, pure soul, Elohai see, endless possibility. Oh, pure soul, Elohai see, endless possibility. Once more. Oh, pure soul, Elohai see, endless possibility. Oh, pure soul, Elohai see, endless possibility. I invite you to close your eyes, focus in on the breath, feel that breath enter your heart, and in your heart you can find that pure soul, that place of playfulness that is inherent, that is buried underneath some of the abuse of the world. And just breathe into it, into that endless possibility. So there's a spiritual practice of reclaiming that place inside us, of applying the Song of Songs, meaning, living by the Song of Songs, means finding how to play in this love, even when it's hard. To find the playfulness in very simple things. And then the other, the challenge that I feel has to do with seeing the whole world as play, which is hard sometimes when there's so much suffering in the world. And as I was contemplating this possibility of seeing this as divine play, I remembered this passage from a book I had read a long time ago that was by Alan Watts. Does anybody know Alan Watts?
Amazing.
Anyway, he was a big
philosopher.
influence in my life, and actually in college I even took a class on Alan Watts. It was just, but there's There's a book that is called The Book, which is
By Alan Watts.
about the taboo of knowing who you really are. But it's called The Book. And I remembered this passage, and then today I went and I had to find it. And I had to like download the book and read it and find this passage because I know it made such an impact on me a long time ago. And so this is so I want to read it to you. It says, God also likes to play hide and seek. And he's saying this as like, this is what you tell to the child inside you, or to the child in front of you. God also likes to play hide and seek, but because there is nothing outside God, he has no one but himself to play with. But he gets over this difficulty by pretending that he is not himself. This is his way of hiding from himself. He pretends that he is you and I and all the people in the world, all the animals, all the plants, all the rocks, and all the stars. In this way, he has strange and wonderful adventures, some of which are terrible and frightening. But these are just bad dreams, for when he wakes up, they will disappear. Now, when God plays hide and pretends that he is you and I, he does it so well that it takes him a long time to remember where and how he hid himself. But that's the whole fun of it. Just what he wanted to do. He doesn't want to find himself too quickly, for that would spoil the game. That is why it is so difficult for you and me to find out that we are God in disguise, pretending not to be himself. But when the game has gone on long enough, all of us will wake up, stop pretending, and remember that we are all one single self, the God who is all that there is and who lives forever and ever. Of course, you must remember that God isn't shaped like a person. People have skins, and there's always something outside our skins. If there weren't, we wouldn't know the difference between what is inside and what's outside our bodies. But God has no skin and no shape because there isn't any outside to him. The inside and the outside of God are the same. And though I've been talking about God as he and not she, God isn't a man or a woman. I didn't say it because we usually say it for things that aren't alive. God is the self of the world. But you can't see God for the same reason that without a mirror you can't see your own eyes. And you certainly can't bite your own teeth or look inside your head. Yourself is that cleverly hidden because it is God hiding. You may ask why God sometimes hides in the form of horrible people or pretends to be people who suffer great disease and pain. Remember first that he isn't really doing this to anyone but himself. Remember, too, that in almost all the stories you enjoy, there have to be bad people as well as good people, for the thrill of the tale is to find out how the good people will get the better of the bad. It's the same with playing cards. At the beginning of the game, we shuffle them all into a mess, which is like the bad things in the world. But the point of the game is to put the mess into good order, and the one who does it best is the winner. Then we shuffle the cards once more and play again, and so it goes with the world.
That's great.
So that was a passage that I remembered from, 30 years ago, and I looked up at it. It felt like it was like describing this kind of way of seeing the world. So in the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a line that also reminded me of this play. And it says, Et-hakol yafeh be'ito. Et-hakol yafeh be'ito. God makes everything beautiful in its time. And then it says, Gam ha-olam natan belibam. And I translate that as, and also hides the universe in their hearts. And the way that I translate it is because the word olam has the root that means both universe and hidden. So that's how I kind of came to that that somehow the universe is hidden inside our hearts, and we spend our lifetimes searching for it. You know, learning how to become inside out, and to allow that allness to overflow. So to me, that's a very mysterious verse that kind of holds the secret of hide and seek, and maybe might help shift our way of viewing the world. Right. Let's try it. It is around.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we may or may not accomplish
Sometimes
that.
I get it, sometimes I
he gets
don't.
it, sometimes he doesn't.
Every once in a while, I come across a chant that just doesn't imprint.
No, but this one's
No,
just kind of that.
it's fully imprinted.
Yes.
It's right there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, let's see if I can do
Yeah,
it a
we
little
did.
bit higher. I did it there, but... Et-hakol yafeh bito, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את הכל עשה יפה ביתו, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את הכל עשה יפה ביתו, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את הכל עשה יפה ביתו, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את הכל עשה יפה ביתו, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את הכל עשה יפה ביתו, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את הכל עשה יפה ביתו, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, את הכל עשה יפה ביתו, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, גם את העולם נתן בליבם, הכל עשה יפה ביתו. so this this divine sense of humor. We don't always get the joke.
No.
Every once in a while we get the joke. Right.
Sometimes much later we get the joke.
Much later we get the joke. Right.
Yeah.
So it's it is that expression of love through play also happens through that we need to the Psalms say you gotta sing it, you gotta sing your joy. Actually, you gotta sing everything. You gotta express it. You gotta sing your joy, because by singing it, something happens. It transforms. It becomes something that is healing. So I had this experience, and before we do this last chant, I'll just tell you, I had this experience at one of the first, of meetings of called together from the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, some really kind of like, wonderfully serious teachers of meditation came together, and they invited rabbis to learn from them, and it was Jonathan Omerman, Rabbi Jonathan Omerman, was teaching something from Rabbi Nachman that was called the kracht, which means the sigh. It was a sighing meditation that he was teaching. He was teaching the sighing meditation, so we all would get together and go, like almost like a oi, but only like and we started doing this sighing meditation, and somebody started laughing, and it was if you ever met Rabbi Sheila Weinberg, who's a great teacher of meditation, but she has this laugh that is absolutely like insane. It was an insane laugh, and it made everybody else laugh, and so everybody's. You know how laughing is when you're trying not to laugh?
Right.
What that's like, So it makes it even worse, It's like, so we're all trying not to laugh, and we'd quiet down for a while, and then we'd hear, we'd hear Sheila laugh again, and then everybody would start laughing again, and then finally Jonathan, who was teaching it, he saw the writing on the wall, and he said, let's make this into a laughing meditation.
Very smart.
And then literally for half hour we laughed, and it was the most kind of the highest kind of exhilarating thing to be able to laugh like that. And then there were some people who came to Kol Zimra. I think Pesach was one of them. You're here, Pesach, I think. He was trained in laughter yoga.
Yeah.
And so he brought laughter yoga to Kol Zimra, which was also quite enlivening, quite exhilarating, and the medicine, such the medicine that we need in order to find our joy and to be able to then pour that joy into our song, and really then transform that energy into something. So I wanted to do this chant, sing your joy, v'rananu, v'zameru, sing your joy and chant, and then it says, that you do this chant with whatever you got, So this says with the harp and this, and the sound of praise, but whatever instrument you are or you have, you need to use it in order to express and lift up this joy, because joy is kind of like there's this raw material there, and the song lifts it up, refines it, spreads it, makes it into a healing balm. But you gotta find it. You gotta find it, and you gotta let it out. And I can't wait till we could chant in person one day. And Actually, if
Sweet.
anybody wants to come to the retreat that I'm teaching in
North of Minneapolis.
in Minnesota, I told everybody that I'm doing this in Lake Wobegon, right?
Just north of Minneapolis.
Just north
that's where
of
it is, right?
Minneapolis, and so that we could really sing together. So you can find that on my website, or if you know anybody from that part of the world who wants to sing their joy.
In person. Wow.
So let's try this and see if you can really sing it out. Verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, Zamru Vikino, Vikino, zimra, verranno, Visamero, verranno, Visamero. So breathe in that joy and then breathe it out to the world that needs it now. So I want to send each other in play, and I talked to my brother David. I have a brother David who lives in Brooklyn, and
His birthday was yesterday.
his birthday, and we played together. We played hard, So I was trying to ask him, like, do you remember how we played? Do you remember that play, how we played? And it he's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy. He is a funny guy. Jim and I, funny guy.